We are on to creating and discharging a lease. And a lot of this is probably just a review for you because, as I've said, a lease is a type of contract. So to create it, it has to have all of the valid elements of a contract. So it's got to be for a legal capacity. It's got to be for a legal objective. There's got to be an offer and acceptance. And there's got to be some sort of consideration, which with lease we usually call a deposit. Some other things about discharging a lease, though, that we might want to review is it's either been performed and ended. Tenant and landlord have agreed to go their separate ways. We've called that mutual agreement, or by operation of law, such as a bankruptcy, foreclosure, or eminent domain, where the government would take personal property for public purposes. Termination by death and by sale do not automatically terminate a lease. So, for example, if someone buys a house that already has a lease on it with a tenant, typically when we buy that property, unless there's agreement otherwise, the new owner is going to have to uphold that lease. Now let's get into real just quick about breach. And this is where either a landlord or the tenant does not abide by to what was in the contract and what was in writing. Actual eviction is going to be when the tenant breaches. They become an estate at sufferance. Maybe they stay beyond the term of the lease. Maybe they quit making lease payments. And a landlord may start the process of actual eviction. And there's different state laws around this and maybe even local laws about how you have to proceed as a judgment in court and what sort of series of notices must be served to the tenant. Constructive eviction is when the landlord isn't performing on the lease. Maybe they agreed to have a certain standard of working order in the unit, and the hot water heater went out and the landlord refuses to repair it. Something like that would be a breach where the tenant could now sue the landlord to cover damages for needing to abandon that lease. Next up are some other provisions to review around leases.